Welcome back to the Austin Physio YouTube channel. Today we are continuing with our runners series and we're going to be looking at runner's knee. Runner's knee is caused by a couple of different conditions, either patellofemoral pain syndrome or ITB syndrome. Typically in runners it has different causes, but one of the key things, if you suddenly increase your frequency, your duration or your intensity of running, and it's suddenly forcing all of those muscles around that area to get really tight and sore. It might be that you've got a predisposed condition, so for example if you've got poor alignment as you're moving through the leg as you're running, that might predispose more tightness around the front of the knee. So what's really important if we're thinking about exercises is first of all stretching and releasing around the front of the knee and the front of the leg so that tightness isn't forming around the kneecap, improving movement into the knee, as well as strengthening key muscles to take the pressure off through the front of the knee, i.e. through your hamstrings and your glute muscles. And this is what we're going to be looking at today. The first exercise we want to start with is massaging around the kneecap. So this is really important to release any kind of pressure around that area, particularly if we're looking at the attachments of the quadriceps around the patella. You want to make sure that you are massaging and relaxing around that kneecap to reduce any pressure and any tension. So I would follow it around like a circle, so starting at the bottom of the kneecap and coming around one side and then using the opposite hand to move around the other side, aiming for about 30 seconds to release any points of tightness. After this, we want to look at stretching specifically to the rectus femoris, so one of the quadriceps muscles. What we want to make sure, I'm going to show you two variations here, is that we're lifting up the back of the leg. So what happens is when the back of the leg's slightly elevated, so you see in the first version that I've lifted up with 2 pillows, and in the second version lifting up and stretching a little bit more, you target the 2 stretching attachments of the rectus femoris, so around the kneecap and then up into that hip area. So you want to aim to hold this for 30 seconds. You might start off with the first variation first as it's a little bit easier, and then add this one in later. Next, of course, you want to integrate the other 3 of the 4 quadriceps, so you're lifting up where you're holding onto something, stretching around the front, pulling the heel up towards your bum and holding for 30 seconds. Next, you want to work a little bit deeper, so what's really important is to release through the quadriceps with a foam roller. So I normally do this in 2 parts because it's actually quite hard to maneuver all of it at once. So I do the upper part near the hip, and then I move it towards the knee and then roll up to the middle part of the thigh. So there's 2 parts to that release. You're going to start up by the hip and then down nearing the attachments around that patella. So you want to relax through, aiming for 30 seconds. Once you release the quads, then moving into the side of the hip as well. So we're thinking kind of around the side into the top. So again, just do it in 2 parts. Make it a lot easier for yourself. So do the upper part by the hip and then move it towards the kneecap and then roll up halfway. So again, you're targeting the whole of the muscle belly and all key areas without having to go through a long movement, which can be quite a challenge. Next, we want to strengthen to take the pressure off the front of the knee like we said before. So a good way to start off with this would be with a glute bridge. I'm adding a TheraBand here around my knees, so quite a strong resistance. You can of course do it without initially and add this in later. So you're aiming for 30 seconds, holding for a second on end range, lovely, slow and controlled, and then we're adding in glute abduction. So I've added it in this position instead of side lying because it makes it a little bit easier to do it all in one routine, because that's what we want. We want ease, and so that you can fit it into your routine when running. So you want to hold the glute up, so you're still firing the glute max but separating the knees to fire around the side of the hips, again for 30 seconds. Finally, we want to fire up through the hamstrings. So by lying on your tummy, again, this is just one way of doing it, so it's just one variation. Adding the TheraBand over the top of the ankle, so a little bit higher, pulling the heel towards your bum, so that's the side that you're firing, holding for a second and then relaxing, so aiming for 30 seconds. So with this routine, of course, repeat on both sides, and I'd try and add it in between 1 to 3 times per week.